how are you doing? I hope that you're keeping well and you've got lots of things to do to keep you busy. In a minute we're going to look in God's big book, the Bible, again. But before we do that, let's have a quick reminder of what we've been learning about over the last few weeks. We've been thinking about the stories that Jesus told that are all written down in the Bible to help us learn and understand something else. So we heard the story of the two house builders and the story of the farmer, and that helped us to understand that Jesus wants us to listen to the things he says and that they can make a difference for good in our lives. And last week we were listening to the story of the lost sheep, and that helped us to understand that absolutely everyone is important to God. But what are we going to be thinking about today? Well, let's have a look in the Bible and find out. Oh, whoa, what? Oh, a trowel, a very dirty trowel at that. It looks to me like we're going to have to head back into the garden to find out what all this is about.
Jesus told this story. Once upon a time there was a man who was walking home through some fields. On his way home in one of the fields, he saw something bright and glinting and shiny in the sunshine. What could it be, he thought. So he ran home to get a spade, or perhaps a trowel like we found earlier on. And then he came back and started to dig. He found a treasure chest. And the man opened up the treasure chest, and inside was some amazing, lovely, valuable, precious treasure. And the man, when he saw it, thought, I need to have that. I really want to have that treasure. But he knew that he couldn't just take it because the field it was buried in didn't belong to him. So he thought, what I'll do is I'll go and find the person who the field belongs to, and I'll see how much they want for it. Then I'll buy the field, and then I'll come and get the treasure. So he thought, just to be on the safe side, he should bury it again to make sure the treasure was kept safe while he wasn't there. So, off he went to find the owner of the field. He found him, and the owner of the field told him that the field cost a lot of money, more money than the man had. He even checked behind the sofa to see if there was any money that had been lost down there, and he still didn't have enough money in his bank, in his house, in his wallet at all. So he thought, that treasure is so precious to me, I think it's worth it if I sell everything I've got in order to get that treasure. So the man sold his clothes, not the ones he was wearing, you'll be pleased to know. The man sold his plates and cups and got some more money for those. He also sold his furniture, and he sold his plants, and he even sold the cat. Oh, actually no, the cat was a little bit too quick for him and ran away before he had a chance to sell her. So she got away with it. So he sold everything that he had because the treasure meant so much to him. He thought it was worth it. And in the end, he had enough money to go back to the owner of the field and to buy the field. And once he'd bought it, You know the first thing he did, don't you? He ran there with his trowel and dug the treasure up again. The treasure meant so much to him that he was prepared to sell everything he had in order to get it. So why did Jesus tell that story that was written down in the Bible? Well, Jesus was saying that the really important treasure is God's family and being in God's family. He was saying that being in God's family and being part of it is such a special and precious and valuable thing that it's a bit like the treasure in the story was for the man. He was saying that being in God's family is the most important thing, and that everyone can be in it if we want to be, if we choose to be, because it is so special. We're going to be thinking about treasure again now, because we're going to be making some treasure cakes.
So we are going to make these yummy, scrummy treasure cakes, and they actually look just like normal cakes, don't they, at first glance? But when we cut in half, there's a surprise inside. Watch. Oh, look at those sweets inside that cake. Now that is a nice surprise. So you will need some jelly beans or some small sweets like that, some hot water, some icing sugar. You need a bowl to make the icing in, a dessert spoon to stir the icing with, and a teaspoon, and of course you need a cake. Now I have got these cakes that I didn't make. You can make your own if you want to, but these cakes have already got a small piece of icing on, but it's hardly worth bothering with that, is it? It's so small. So, you know, we'll just take that off and we can eat that later. So to make your special treasure cakes, you need to get your teaspoon and you need to dig, a bit like the man in the story, you need to dig some of this cake out. So you need to put your spoon in a little bit away from the edge and dig down, not all the way to the bottom, about halfway or 2/3 of the way down. So the spoon goes in and then just really carefully go round and round and round and round and round. And eventually some of the cake comes off and you can also eat that later. Hooray! And now you've got a nice big space to bury your treasure. You can choose whatever you like, but I've got jelly beans today, so what shall I have? I'm going to have a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one and a white one and a green one. Squish them down gently so you don't break the cake too much, and then you need to make up your icing, but I have already made some here, so I'm going to use this one I've already made. You need to put a couple of tablespoons of icing sugar in and just a little bit of water, but you need it to be quite thick, so you need good arm muscles to mix that up, because look, that is really thick, but it needs to cover all of the jelly beans and the cake as well. So get a nice big blob on your spoon and cover up your treasure so that nobody knows it's there except you. And then just let the icing spread out into the hole and slightly over the top as well. And no one will ever know that the treasure is hidden inside the cake. Look at that. Well, that's about all there is for Buzz Club this week. I wonder if you're going to make a treasure chest. You could make one with silver foil a bit like this. I just used a cereal box, or if you've got an old biscuit tin, you could make one out of that, and maybe you could find some things around your house to put inside to pretend is real treasure. But I do hope that you make the treasure cakes because they look really tasty. I'll see you next time.